Skyrim has been playing wonderfully on the new PC, and I'm looking forward to playing some new games that's on my
Try to get cocky.
It is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If we take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Understanding others, the other elements, and the other nations will help you become whole.
Alright, that is a weird video title, I know, but that's actually a question I ask a lot of people. Not awkward at all, but think about it. That's a whole generation of grumpy gamers. There will come a day where Game Grumps will quite literally live up to their name. There will be Madden and Smash tournaments in the retirement homes in like 30 more years, maybe probably less, if it's not already. Mark my words, it's gonna be f***ing awesome. And then, a whole new wave of geriatric streamers coming to the scene. Listen, they have nothing else to do with their time, and it lets them stay in touch with their fans and make new ones, and maybe make a little cash on the side. The possibilities, imagine. My god. I'm sure there's a few out there already, but with every passing year, more and more people are getting to video games collectively. It's a niche little thing though, I know. So I thought it'd be a fun premise to talk about the 10 games that I'd bring with me when, eventually, my family gives me the boot. That sounds depressing, but bear with me, we can have fun with this. Now, this won't just be a straightforward list of my top 10 favorite games of all time. We're gonna take this with a more realistic approach. So, despite the ranking, don't take this to mean that number 2 is a better game than number 8. That's not what this means, mostly. So there's a couple conditions that I base this list on. One is its functionality, as in how likely it'll be for, 70 to 90-year-old me to be able to play the damn game. So, sorry, Sekiro is not in here. If you think I'll have the same reaction time in my 70s as I do in my 20s, you're even if it's mostly muscle memory, I just don't see myself doing it. Then again, there's plenty of older folks that can absolutely shred on the guitar, so maybe there's hope. A nice thought, maybe I'll have the chops to be a, geriatric shinobi badass, if Uncle Iroh's anyone to go by. Okay, 2 is replayability. By that point, all the games that I'll be listing will be ones that I've already replayed several times over, so am I really going to want to traumatize myself again as an old man? Because I'm not torturing myself with that shit again for a second time, regardless. Then 3 is its difficulty curve. So obviously the Souls games come into question here, but again, by that point in my life, I'll have already been very familiar with the mechanics for any game that I want to add that has a higher difficulty attached to it. And on replays, that bar gets set lower with every run. Difficulty kind of goes hand in hand with functionality, like how difficult is it to play physically and how much of it is difficult from mental capacity. But without further ado, here are my top 10 games that I'd bring with me into the twilight years of my life. And at the very bottom, with number 10, we got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you're absolutely right. As much as this game, right now, might be in my top 3 games of all time, there is no way that I'll be as sharp and react fast enough to even keep up with level 7 bots by the time I reach that age. So this is more or less a nostalgic entry. Going over this list, I realized just how many of those I have on here. But Smash Bros. As a whole is something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It's helped build some of the longest lasting friendships of my life, and I've bared witness to it ending a fair amount of them as well. RIP. If the servers are still up by that point, then I kind of like the idea of the occasional, wombo combo on a young whippersnapper, if Smash is still considered, cool or playable by then. Though was it ever? Trick question, Smash is always cool. Like, what other game do you get to bash Sora and Kazuya together like fucking action figures when you were a kid? Or have Sephiroth skewer like whittle Kirby, my sweet little jiggly boy. And on the upside, if I'm ridden with terrible arthritis, I think most gamers will be by that point, then at least I'll be able, to keep the claw handle on the controller going by that point. I'll just need a little help, fitting my hand on it first. Max Payne 3, a bit of a weird one, right? I think this game was pretty well received when it came out, but let me tell you, this was my favorite game, ever, for quite a while, until, New Vegas. It's still one of my most replayed games of all time. I think it's at the top next to Sekiro and Arkham Asylum. That doesn't make any sense. Objectively, I know. But I don't care, this is my list, make your own. And if it weren't for those stupid online trophies, I would have platinumed it and, wiped my trophy data and replat it, 7 times over. The combat was too addicting for me. I have almost every enemy placement memorized, and I had a blast running back through every combat encounter in the higher difficulty tiers. Since this is a cover-based shooter, it's not too heavy on the reaction time. Mr. Kinky literally has Matrix-like abilities for slowing down time, and on the easier difficulties, they're super generous on having a longer bullet time gauge. The story is pretty solid if you've kept up with Payne's shenanigans since the first game. You don't really have to have played the previous ones to get this, but if not, then I feel like you're just watching a very salty, shredded, middle-aged bald man wreak havoc in Brazil to save some of his clients. There's a lot more to it than that, but I'm just saying, context helps. I like this game. I like it a lot. It's a short short and simple game, and you know what, sometimes that's all it needs to be. But God, I wish they would, pull some resources together to like remake the first and second one. Number 8, Mass Effect Trilogy. Oh, Mass Effect, baby. Now these have a good amount of replay value. Alright, before you say anything, I know this is technically 3 games, but this is in a trilogy pack, so I'm counting it as 1. Plus, this really is an experience best played with all 3 games. However, if I only had to choose one, it'd likely be the third one. There's no point in griping about the ending, there's so many good things it does, and I really enjoy that I can forego the ending with the rest of the pie is still good. Incredible story. It's one that I continue to revisit at least once every year, all the way through, all 3 games, baby. This is a sci-fi lover's wet dream rolled into over 100 hours of content. Forget the mainline story for a second, this is worth experiencing again just for the side stuff. To me, that's where the real meat, the real 5-layer deep dish beef steak potato poutine burrito of this game really shines. Combat isn't too strenuous. I think even on higher difficulties, it just requires more of a strategic approach when playing it compared to running gunning like Gears of War, so it'll keep my mind active. I get to play with this S-tier super long interactive movie, and maybe finally I'll have the time to actually read through the codex entries. My attention span is still far too small for stuff like that. I absolutely loathe codex logs in games, unless we count like the ones from FromSoft, but honestly those are more like, small 4-sentence paragraphs. Ironically, I'd want way more entries in those games because of the obscurity with this. Anyways, okay, replayability, forget about it. Now, sure, there's only really 2 main ways to go about the game, for the most part, but the real variety is in the dialogue responses, and it's really stupid, but I had this idea of keeping a tally on a numeric value for every single response option to the storyline and the side quests to see absolutely everything this game has to offer. That sounds really tiresome and asinine, but shit like that is, an ultimate level of completionism that by that stage in my life, what else is there to do? Bond with my grandkids? Fuck that shit, hell no. Oh my god, Call of Duty, Black Ops 3. This has nothing to do with his campaign, so just delete that comment right now. No, I am solely talking about the zombies. If my brother is still around, and if I'm able to function well enough with my hands, 100% we'll still be booting this game up to play like some Noct or Kino. I'll give that bastard an excuse to visit me. Alright, there's definitely a theme of nostalgia on this list, but another secret basis to this has been dependent on which games would be the best I could walk down memory lane with, Everybody who's old likes to do that. And ever since Left 4 Dead, this was the game for years that I would totally count the minutes and wait until the last bell rang in school and I could go home and see if the night was the night I'd finally get a new round score. And I picked this one over, Blops 1 or 2 just because I enjoyed the guns the most in this one. And a lot of the original weapons are here, but with some, added tweaks. Bobble gums are a really fun mechanic to spice things up, even if they are monetized, but it's honestly a good time just seeing all the neat little effects they do. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, and I hate Dynasty Warrior-like games. No, these have a name to it, I'll look it up. Musos. Yeah, no, fuck them. I played 4 of these. One of them was Zelda skin modded over it, and I just find it boring as fuck. Not this one though. This is totally 100% has nothing to do with the One Piece makeover. Not even close. Except that's exactly what it is. And I can't definitively tell you if this is better or worse compared to the original, Dynasty Warriors franchise, but I do know I like this one. This is a great podcast game in my opinion, perfect for having some background noise while you slaughter thousands upon thousands of Marines or pirates. While I may not like Muso games as a whole, this works a lot more for me pretty much because of its setting. Dynasty Warrior-like levels are pretty similar to how battles play out in the longer drawn-out fights in One Piece. So it's even more immersive, and the fact that you can roleplay as almost literally any character from the franchise at this point that can throw a punch, and even if they weren't there canonically, it's cool as shit. Kobe fights in Wano now, dope. I'm on board with that. Or Kobe in Alabasta. I just want to see what it would have been like to see leveled up Kobe handle himself in some of the best set piece battles of the series. It's a very simple fighting game. You get your light and heavy attacks to mix up, and then add an R1 and a face button for an even flasher move. If you played these games before, you know how they work. And if you're into One Piece, this should definitely be given a look at. It takes forever to fully level out a character in this game, but it's a nice completion bonus to go if you're into that. Easy on the hands. It's a bit of a stimulation overload when you really get into the battles and the super move cutscenes. But besides that, there's a whole lot of content here to do besides the platinum. Most of it is just collection stuff, but if you're a One Piece fan, then this will be a great treat regardless.